Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Fear rarely makes a long-term change in people. The woman in our first story should be arrested for assault and battery. A few months behind bars to teach her something. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Yes, please, do call animal control. I was out with mine and my guy's dog at a partially fenced dog park a few days ago. As I was bringing them back out to the car, a new and friendly dog came bounding up to us. As it was not a fully fenced area, this wasn't a surprise, and I looked to see where the people with the dog were. But no one new was around. This dog looked similar to one of mine, which is important. Anyway, I get my dogs into my car, and I decided I would catch him and see what else I could do. The dog's very friendly, but clearly just a boisterous large breed puppy, maybe 8 months old. I began trying to leash him, and at this moment, an irate woman comes storming up, and I just assumed it was the dog's owner, scared but relieved. It was not. I never got her name, so based on her behavior, she shall be named Karen. Karen shrieks, "Your effing dog knocked me down over there! Look at my coat!" She was streaked with dirty water and mud from the slushy melting snow, and considering the dog's demeanor, I could see it happening if you weren't prepared for the hit. Sorry about that, but it's not my... Do not claim that isn't your dog. I saw you playing with him. Even if you're a dog walker, you are responsible for his behavior. As I said, this dog looks similar to mine, so I give her the benefit of the doubt. No, my dog's in the car. This one just ran up. I'm still trying to catch the dog at this point, and frankly, far more focused on him. I heard her say something about animal control, and I said, yeah, okay, sure. I wasn't paying attention because she was now shouting and being irrational, and my patience doesn't extend very far with that. I get a hold of the dog after one of the other people comes over to help corral him, and Karen's now shouting into the phone about me and this large, dangerous dog. The other dog park person says, this is the dog that came running up, isn't it? Yes, she doesn't want to listen to me. We just shake our heads at the situation, and I decide to wait for the van to show up because I wasn't in a rush to leave, and frankly, I wanted to make this woman feel stupid. By now, I've seen that the dog does not have any tags, but they've written Frankie on the collar. I start to try to get this boy to calm down a little bit by using his name and seeing if he'll sit, etc. Animal control shows up about 15 minutes later, and this woman has been pacing around, viciously exclaiming how everyone else was irresponsible for allowing their dogs around another dog that was so out of control. We've all been ignoring her as best as we can. Karen stomps over, brandishing her muddy coat. Finally, this woman's dog knocked me down over there, and she does not care at all. He's out of control. The animal control person walks over to me, and he's staring at me with an interesting look on his face, Karen trailing behind him. Frankie is now sitting, albeit very wiggly, next to me, and I'm leaning against the fence. I'm admittedly trying to be obnoxiously calm now. Hi, this is Frankie. He came running up about 20 minutes ago from that direction, I think. No tags, name written on the collar. Hello, I'm Officer X. We got a call about this dog from the owners. Mailman didn't quite shut the gate and he got out. Thank you for holding on to him. They were very worried. Karen's face fell, and she just stood there like an idiot, and we walked away from her. I showed him my 2 dogs to prove that Frankie wasn't my dog, and that was that for my part of the story. F you, Karen. And the best part is, little Frankie's safe at home, instead of whatever Karen had hoped. Good human. And our second story. Parking nightmare. Our HOA sucks, from a lien being put on the house for less than $200 to complaints about weeds when we had obvious construction going on at the house after it flooded. There's been some stupid crap. A recent one really pushed some buttons, though. My parents plan to move in the next few years, and they'll be avoiding HOAs. Here's how the story goes. We have 4 vehicles, 3 cars, and a truck. We have a 2-car garage that we use for storage, and it's honestly small. Trying to fit 2 cars in there would be pretty much impossible unless they were tiny. They decided not to bother trying to park in there, though. It's more useful for storage. So we park 1 car and the truck in the driveway and 2 cars on the street. Just a note, at one point the HOA tried to make it against the rules to park on the street, but they were shot down on that. My parents got a letter from a lawyer, rather than from the HOA directly, about a complaint about us parking in the street. Two important facts about this: the HOA was charging her the legal fee. They never bothered to contact her directly about this, just went straight to the lawyer. And it said specifically not to contact the HOA directly regarding this and to only contact the lawyer. So my mom contacted the lawyer, talked about the complaint. They asked about the garage and if it was being used, and she said it was. They asked if it was for cars, and she said no, it's storage. They go over the details, and that seems like it's it. They get another letter from the lawyer a while later saying that they did find them to be in violation of the rules. One of the rules was that the garage must be fully utilized before you're allowed to park on the street. It doesn't specify that it has to be by vehicles. That garage is fully utilized, but the lawyer was interpreting it to mean it had to be vehicles, even though that's not stated. I believe they were giving 2 weeks to clean out the garage and park 2 of the cars in there. The letter also stated that since my mom had contacted the lawyer regarding this, that she now owed additional legal fees. Remember how the first one said not to contact the HOA and to contact the lawyer? Yeah, it mentioned no fees as part of that. My mom contacted the HOA about it at that point and had plenty of complaints. The legal fees was one of them. There was no reason to go directly to a lawyer about this, and she was never informed beforehand. A big one was if they really expected us to rotate our vehicles on a daily basis, the truck's not going to fit in the garage. Mine and my dad's cars might. The whole BS seemed like it would result in 2 cars in the garage and the truck and third car parked directly behind them in the driveway. The person she spoke to said they didn't expect them to do that. Then what was the problem to begin with? Even if we clean out the garage and park 2 cars in there, we would still have 2 on the street. It'd just leave our driveway empty. Navigating the absurdities of our HOA, a parking dispute escalated with a lawyer's letter. Despite complying with their instructions, my mom faced legal fees and an unreasonable rule about the garage. With frustration mounting, she challenged the HOA, questioning the practicality of their demands. Refusing to accept the arbitrary rules, my family sought legal counsel, arguing that the HOA's demands lacked clarity and due process. In court, the judge ruled in our favor, sparing us from the unjust demands and prompting a reassessment of the HOA's communication and enforcement practices. Parking disputes can be particularly frustrating. It's commendable that your family took a stand against the arbitrary behavior of the HOA and sought legal help to challenge their claims. And our last story. The epic battle, red-blooded dad versus the HOA. When my family moved away from my family's ranch, we went to a trailer park for a while, then into an actual house. We wound up in a neighborhood that had an HOA. My dad refused to sign their contract because he's a red-blooded American redneck. Everything was good until they tried to tell him how to manage his household. This happened in a place where you actually aren't obligated to obey the HOA unless they have you on contract. We pissed him off because we refused to pay dues. This prompted the HOA president to do everything they could to make us decide paying dues was easier than dealing with their crap. They told him that we couldn't keep our cars in our driveway. They had to be in the garage. The problem is we had my dad's car, mom's car, my car, and the work truck, but only a 2-car garage. But my father's a patient and accommodating man, so we move our cars to the street. They tried to get onto him for that, so we parked in the front yard. They then tried to come at him with the contract and tell him to sell 2 of the vehicles. His response? I ain't signed crap. Get the hell off my property. And thus the war between the HOA and my family began. My mom wanted a garden like we had back at the ranch, so my dad grabbed my brother and I, and we went to the Home Depot to get supplies. We come back and start doing the prep work, and some guy comes up and asks what we're doing. Building a garden. I'm going to put some raised boxes up with some shelves over by the door, and then line the rest of the front with flower beds. What do you think? The guy says he thinks it sounds all right and walks away. We get to work. 15 minutes later, my mom comes out and says she had the HOA president on the line. Dad tells her to tell the president to F off. Next, they come over to tell him he has to have landscaping projects approved by the HOA. After a short argument, my dad reverts to his military personality and yells, "Get off my property," at which point Mr. HOA chose not to press the issue. We lived there about 8 months and other things had happened, but this was the first time they called the police. We were packing up to go hunting. It was a Friday evening, and we put our rifles in the gun rack on the work truck and started moving back and forth from the house, bringing all our gear and supplies. As we're going over the checklist one last time, just to make sure, a police car pulls up and tells my dad they got a call about armed men robbing a house. My dad explains the situation, and the officer goes to get in his car and leave when this lady, who turns out to be the HOA president's wife, they live down the street a ways, comes out and asks the officer why he isn't doing anything. She insists that he can't just let us carry weapons around. She gets more and more upset as the officer explains that the weapons are safely stored for transport. It's our private residence, so we can actually carry them. And my father's license to carry anyway. At this point, she's starting to piss off my dad, who tells her, "Linda, you're trespassing right now, and if I've told you once, I've told you 1,000 times, stay the hell off my property." At which point, the police officer told us all to calm down and sent Mrs. HOA back home and us on our way. A few more months go by. We've been there about a year, and we're remodeling about half the house over the summer. They've called the police on us for nothing enough times that the police are actually on our side. We were working on a bathroom and pulled the toilet out and put it by the curb with the trash. The trash collectors came and took everything but the toilet. Fair is fair. It was definitely over the weight limit. We call the city and ask how to get rid of it, and basically we have to take it to the dump ourselves. We figure we'll get it when we take the copper and tile and get back to work. About an hour later, there's a knock on the door. Dad opens it to none other than Mr. and Mrs. HOA. They tell us we can't leave the toilet on the street. My dad tells them he understands he'll move it when we're done working for the day. This is not good enough. They demand we move the toilet this instant. Okay, my dad says, and then has me help him move the toilet and position it as the centerpiece of our yard. He told them the toilet will stay there as long as he liked. This time there was no yelling, not even a command to get off his property. Only my 6'4" bearded construction worker father laughing his butt off at these two as they lost their damn minds. When they left, he made an out-of-order sign for the toilet, took us for ice cream, and we were done working for the day. But wait, there's more. A few days later, I wake up to police sirens on the street. I get up and walk outside in my PJs to see what's going on, and I saw a sight that brings a smile to my face to this day. The police arresting Mr. and Mrs. HOA for attempted theft of a toilet as my father, clad in dog tags, combat boots, boxers, and a bathrobe stolen from Motel 6, smokes a cigarette and laughs from atop his porcelain throne. I mean, come on. The part where your dad turns a toilet into the centerpiece of your yard is pure gold. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.